would just like to welcome our viewers to the first Life and Figures podcast. For those that are familiar with our articles from our blog, we are expanding our media for you to consume the information that we want to provide to you. And a big welcome to all the new viewers that have not been to our blog. We invite you to check it out, and we'll be bringing some video content.
Yeah. As Gustav has said, I would also like to welcome everyone for those who've been reading our published content on Life and Figures website, and also to welcome potential new viewers. We are hoping for fruitful engagement, and hopefully there's more learning and more commenting and a bit of pushback in terms of theory or thought-provoking moments. So we welcome all of that, and please, as they always say on YouTube, don't forget to share, like and subscribe. So so the highlight in terms of what the show will be from our side as our first podcast is we have taken a step back and said what's currently happening in the South African economy, and we have elections coming up in about 2 weeks' time, the 29th of May, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. That's when we'll be casting our votes, and we hope those who are eligible to register, they have done so, and they will do so according to the way each political party serves their needs. So do go make your mark on that ballot paper, and hopefully that which you need from a particular political party, they do serve you right. So our highlights for this show will be covering what the NHI bill is from an elections perspective, and then what the economy is like going into the elections, and based on the results, what it will be like in terms of how the market might react, particularly looking at the rand, right? Because the rand as well, the currency, it controls a whole lot of things from that perspective, and of which you'll take us through that, Gustav.
Yes, and we're also going to delve deeper, like Benjamin said, the different scenarios from the outcome of the elections. And there's also another major election coming up later this year, across the Atlantic from the US, the biggest democracy, the biggest economy in the world, and the knock-on effects that's going to have on the average South African. We are not immune to changes in geopolitics. And we'll also just give a bit of a background regarding the inflation environment and the interest rate environment. That's something that touches everyday citizens of South Africa. It doesn't matter which class or income bracket you fall. Interest rates, inflation, it touches every single South African. So we just want to paint a bit of a backdrop there and what you can expect going forward.
Without wasting time and delving into the details, I will introduce myself shortly. I'm Masesani Benjamin. For those who may wonder, I'm from an econometrics background and financial economics. So I've been around the block right across the industries, from supply chain, FMCG/retail, and finance regulatory. So that's it from my side. Gustav, do you mind telling our viewers a bit about yourself and your background from that perspective as well?
Yes. So I was blessed enough to meet Benjamin in university, where we studied BCom Economics and Econometrics. That's from an education background. My first steps into the job market, I found myself working on an FX desk. That's where I really started to fall in love with, the global markets, and, seeing how the pricing mechanism and how information filters through into the markets. And then from there, I ventured into the banking sector, first working as a consultant, and now currently I'm working in the treasury space in the banking system. So, lots of areas. You can never, decide your path, and that's
So without wasting much time, Gustav,
let's dive into it.
The NHI bill.
If you're paying north of 2,000 rand for medical aid. I mean, that's pretty much the going rate. How's that going to impact you? Does the NHI pretty much throw your discovery vitality points out the window now, or what's going to happen? What's going to do with your vitality? But yeah, Ben, so how do you see, the NHI and the timing of it? The timing of it is very significant given we're heading into the elections. What's your opinion on the bill? What's your view on the bill? Yeah.
So when I first thought about it, I was like, why is the president finding his pen to sign the bill into pass at this point in time? Because it's very critical, and we've seen quite some controversy with bills being passed before elections. So, but then it was a matter of analyzing it. Is it desperate times calls for desperate measures? Because the timing of it, it's more of like a pure electioneering if we were to look at it from that perspective. Because when you think about it, right, the bill in itself is quite noble, right? What it stands for, what it tries to achieve is quite noble, but we cannot put a makeup on a pig, right?
Yeah.
We cannot see this as a solution now to address all the underpinnings that we have, all the inadequate infrastructure of our public healthcare system. This is not it. It's like putting a makeup on a pig. So
Yeah.
It deserves the much received criticism because of, is it rushed? Is it the appropriate time? Do you have enough fiscus to stomach the implementation amount needed? How is it going to be financed? Right?
Yeah.
Of already a huge chunk of our GDP amount is being taken by servicing debt.
Yeah.
And now you need about 200 billion for starters to $1 trillion to get this right through the implementation phase. So the strategy now is that what we're seeing from the president is the businessman himself has come up alive now by saying now the timing of it is from an electioneering perspective, because when we look at the recent unemployment numbers that have just been published, the expanded version is quite shocking. Over 12 million people are unemployed. And those which are employed, with also the inequality that comes with it, it's about roughly 16 million. So in a way, the unemployment numbers are catching up to the employed. And also, wages and salaries are not. Inequality is still high. So, like any classical business model in South Africa that has appealed to the low-income earners, that's where this NHI bill is coming from. If I were to put things into perspective, we are not political analysts, but certain things they're just out there.
Yeah.
For one
It's in
to
our
see.
faces.
It's in our faces. So,
Yeah.
if majority of the people are low income or non-existent income to begin with, healthcare forms part of everyday lives, right? Health is wealth, like for everyone. So now, the moment you promise low-income workers free, equitable access to private healthcare, what does that say?
Yeah.
It sways, it enhances the confidence that their needs are taken care of, and government is taking a stance to protect their need for healthcare, right? And then what does it do? Instead of addressing the existing public healthcare issues, they now have taken a bypass to that.
Yeah.
With the stance. And it enhances now their voter confidence for the leading party, because what? All the other opposing parties, they're saying no, and rightly so. But in the short term, in these 2 weeks, low-income earners, they contribute a lot to the numbers.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the ANC will win in Mpumalanga, Eastern Cape, or they'll dominate in Mpumalanga, Eastern Cape, and Limpopo. If we look also at the income categorized, average income by these provinces, is quite shocking. So there's a bit of truth to that they are playing to the emotions of low-income earners. And they are also doing what? Swaying the voting to them then.
Yeah.
And leaving what? Middle-income earners, or rather those who have access to private healthcare, they are being shown the middle finger by the government, right?
Yeah.
Because they're also confused and they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But that's where the numbers are not at from a voting perspective, from making a cross. Because now, as you're saying it, desperate times calls for desperate measures. And by saying this, is that social relief grants, they are not going to do the job. All these other grants, they are no longer going to do the job. But this particular bill is going to get them the numbers that they need.
Yeah. I see a lot of parallels. I remember with Jacob Zuma just before the previous national election, before his final term, he pushed the free education with the fees must fall. So these politicians always have these levers that they can pull to manipulate the public. And I mean, where is the free education now? NAFSAS is plagued by corruption. We still see fees must fall protest. So it's like you said, it's the short-lived optimism.
Yeah.
And the one thing, that the tripartite alliance between COSATU, ANC, and the Communist Party. I'm just thinking, how do the labor unions feel about this NHI bill? Because I mean, if you have like your group medical aid scheme, does this NHI bill put in jeopardy these group medical aid schemes? Because I mean, if I'm working and I have my medical aid benefits with the company that I'm working for, my union fought for those. Is that will we see some pushback from the trade unions? That's something we can also see.
Yeah, no, we will do expect a bit of unions, but it depends on who stands to benefit and who's rubbing shoulders with who, right?
Yeah.
Because to your famous line that you like to quote is that politicians don't understand economics. What do they understand?
G-Wagon economics.
The G-Wagon economics. So it's a matter of who stands to benefit and who's rubbing shoulders with who. Yeah. And that's how you buy the support, right? So, because for instance, I cannot quite recall, recently there was one union which was in support of this. But the majority of it from medical aid perspectives is who's going to run the administration of all of these things, because even government, it's not even digital unless the private sector comes to offer the digital, the pre-existing digital infrastructure to facilitate these things. But I don't see that happening anytime soon because there's going to be a lot of pushbacks from even the private sector as well, because their power in the private sector space is also being threatened by all of this. So seeing this happening this year, I don't, but I just see a quick solution to just keep the voters in touch and believing and keeping their faith.
And I mean, this bill is probably just gonna wind up being stuck in court for years and years. So I don't think the average viewer should be too scared that their discovery points are gonna get taken from them now.
But we'll see. That quote of Sowell in terms of paying for doctors. What's that quote?
So the people that think that there isn't enough money in the system to pay for basic health for everyone, those same people are saying that we can now afford basic income for everyone. On top, we're adding the government bureaucracy to administer it. So it doesn't make sense. And like the thing is, as soon as you label something a human right, it doesn't dissolve the economic inputs that has to go to the end product. I mean, just by saying that health services is a human right, it doesn't take away the input cost for the hospital. It doesn't take away the input cost for the medicine. It doesn't take away the labor costs for the nurses and the doctors. There's no free lunch. Just saying something is a free right doesn't make it. And I mean, we shouldn't always praise these national health insurance schemes, because in Great Britain their system isn't adequate. Canada is also another example. You can have two of the three. You can have accessible health insurance, you can have affordable health insurance, and you can have efficient health insurance. You can only have two of three. And the beauty of South Africans of the South African healthcare now is if you pay for it, you can get quality healthcare. And people in Canada, yes, it's affordable for everyone. Yes, it's accessible, but is it efficient? They have to wait months for a hip replacement. You know what I mean? So, yeah, there is the beauty of national health insurance is it is quite you definitely need to see the flaws. You can't just look at the rosy picture that can sometimes be painted by the whole, if you look at it from a socialist point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, but in a nutshell, to wrap up this topic, the introduction and timing of this NHI bill by the government is purely to just entice the voters.
Yeah.
And they might have the confidence that they feel prioritized and their needs for access to quality healthcare is also bad. It's like putting a makeup on a pig, so they say. So it will not solve anything, and it might not end up being implemented. But we stand to be corrected, right? But with this government, we know the loopholes of corruptions and.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, this is obviously like a socialist policy, having a national health insurance. But I mean, even the far left Socialist Party of the EFF isn't supportive of the NHI bill. And that says a lot. The EFF was actually criticizing the NC that it's going to create too much corruption loopholes between the private and public sector. So yeah, that just goes to show there's way too much contravening opinions on this.
And still on that topic of elections, what are your thoughts of a coalition government for this year?
Sure.
Because what you've seen is ANC is facing a lot of vulnerabilities into this year's elections because of we've seen a record amount of registered new parties. So there's a whole lot of players, like your MK party, backed up by Jacob Zuma with his following.
Yeah.
And we also have Rise Mzansi as well, receiving a lot of funding as well and disrupting the space from that perspective.
Yeah.
And you have your Herman Mashaba still in the space, still failing you, not his first time around, to say the least.
And you have your Patriotic Alliance trying to
take some. And it's and a whole lot of independents, and which are getting the right stress. As I've said, we are not really much of political analysts, but there are just certain things whereby we can form opinions.
Yeah.
So,
I personally, I don't know. I still don't really know where to vote, but I mean, so that's for every viewer to decide for themselves. But like we have roughly three avenues that this election result can take. We have everyone is cheering, for below 42% support for ANC with the coalition government. But with that, it will bring policy uncertainty, and these coalition governments, there will be no policy efficiency or certainty. They will keep being to and fro, like we saw in 2016 when DA had Pretoria and Johannesburg. That was a perfect example of a failed coalition government, because nothing could be implemented because it keeps there's not a majority to make a decision, and so that's the one that's actually not the most positive result. Actually, people might think, okay, cool, ANC slipping out of a big majority view, that would be very positive, but on the other side, it brings that uncertainty and it brings that bureaucracy of inefficiency.
Because actually the ANC then lose power as much as we would like to have them there, but it could decentralize a whole lot of things, both at national and provincial level. Do you think South Africa is ready for that kind of mayhem? Because now we are seeing at local level, so there's coalitions
that doesn't work.
There's no shared responsibilities. Where do you place accountability? Where do the buck stop? How do you get that right? One will think that maybe two people then overlooking something, they will keep each other in check, but instead, what do? They keep throwing their toys around at each other. Nothing is being done. And when two elephants are fighting, who suffers? The grass.
The grass.
It's people. It's service delivery.
Yeah.
And all of these things, what do? They rob us of our daily lives. Potholes. What do? They damage tires, cause accidents, and a whole lot of things. It's the cost that gets
Yeah.
passed on over to us from that perspective. So,
Yeah.
but the likelihood is there.
Yeah, the likelihood is there. And I mean, the thing is, like you said before, you know, the biggest support from the ANC is your rural black voter. If you look at your urban voters, you know, the urban centers, the ANC is not in majority. So that's live. That will definitely stay. But all these like fractured ANC parties, you know, like you have Ace Magashule in the Free State. He has his party. We saw Zuma coming in with his party. You know, yes, they're gonna take something. They're gonna steal some votes, but you know, at the end of the day, won't they just side with the ANC? You know what I mean? Are you actually voting against the ANC, voting for these for these?
Because they're going to be coalitions, and
Yeah.
we never know if they drop below them the 50% mark. We don't know how much they will need from other parties
to get them up. Yeah, and the polls are definitely pointing towards below 48% even for the ANC. So that's going to be interesting. I think it's a good development.
Yeah, we need a shake-up.
But yeah, South Africa has never, in the 30 years, you know, post-apartheid, there's never been a transition of power. It's not going to come with this national election. Maybe next election, I won't get my hopes up, but seeing that transition, we don't know what it has in store for us. Yeah, because politics can get violent. We've seen it, you know, even before our first democratic election. You know, there was lots of fighting between ANC, IFP. You know, it won't be a clean democratic transition. But positive for South Africa is South Africa has learned to not rely on the state. So South Africa has learned to cope with state inefficiency, and we have created parallel structures of private sector that picks up the tab of the public sector. And unfortunately, there's only a select few that, you know, that have access to, you know, solar panels, private medical aid, private schooling, all of that. But hopefully the government's inefficiencies can continue to, you know, drive the private sector, and in a way that the private sector can expand to accommodate everyone. That's my base case scenario. I don't rely on politics.
And you'll have opposing views on that in terms of private sector and against nationalization. But nationalization, one can argue that the inefficiencies, the private sector is here to save us all. And one will say, wow, but if the private sector comes, they have to price, considering that maybe
you can price
there's little to no government incentives, and only those who can pay for the convenience that comes with it or the efficiency that comes with it.
Yeah.
So, but I think with the NHI bill that being passed, the ANC might have bought themselves a lifeline. I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not much for conspiracy theories, but I think there might be something in play with this NHI bill, because now it creates the confusion even for middle income earners, because now the majority of them, when you read the news or you look at the social media engagement, they don't know who to vote for. They also don't know. So, and manifestos that have been presented to the people, it's just a wish list in most instances. It's not a policy. So it doesn't form a base of it's the things that you wish to achieve. But the moment you enter government, there's a lot of bureaucracies that you don't just do things the way you want. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of approvals, you know. There's a lot of interventions that you need to get passed through. So if now the middle class are this confused and they've got the backing of low income earners, people have registered to vote, they might end up not going to vote. And the moment they don't go vote, who benefits?
leading party.
The leading party benefits. So I think for them, this NHI bill discourage voting for the middle income, creating a bit of confusion.
Yeah.
To discourage that, but also strengthen the backing from low-income earners. In that way, I don't know, but it's a possibility. Maybe one of the viewers can tell us how they see this play from the NHI bill perspective in the comment section, and then we'll engage with them from that perspective. We'd like to hear their thoughts on that.
But yeah, I mean, like now looking forward, you know what? How will the election results, you know, impact day-to-day viewers' lives? And I think a big one will obviously be, you know, the exchange rate. Looking at the results from the elections, I mean, the rand has easily been able to shake the election uncertainties, and you know, if we can, an above 42% result for the ANC is actually expected to be rand positive, so that can hopefully, you know, have a better impact on our viewers. You know, a stronger, for an exporter you want a weaker currency, but you know, for everyone else buying imported goods, you know, oil, diesel, you know, that's gonna you're gonna need a kind of stronger currency there.
Yeah, because I was listening to the Money Show not so long ago. They were also suggesting that the rand, if the elections are fair,
peaceful,
and in a democratic state like South Africa, as much as we like to believe there's a bit of democracy, and there is, and the results are ANC favored. We are likely to see the rand at 1,700 levels.
Yeah. So for me, the base case scenario for the rand for the remainder of this year will be, we need precious metal prices to stay elevated at the current levels where they are now. We saw gold and silver go on a serious bull. I won't say bull cycle, but we went on. We hit highs of we hit all-time highs on the gold. Silver is teetering around $30 an ounce. So the increased commodity prices is rand positive. So one thing that our viewers need to definitely understand about the rand, it behaves as a commodity currency. As soon as the prices of our most exported commodities go up, the rand follows that. It appreciates. And we're currently sitting on a trade surplus. The precious metal prices are looking favorable to continue to increase, given the natural, how can I say, uncertainty regarding global monetary policy. So gold has definitely benefited from that. And if these elections, you know, like you said, are, you know, if it creates a good picture to the global investor, you can see global investors really bringing in capital back into the South African bond market. And you know, so the long-term South African government bonds are sitting, you know, north of 11% at the moment. So if the Federal Reserve continues their dovish tone, if the Federal Reserve, you'll have your bond rates in South Africa, you have your Federal Reserve rate here. If the Federal Reserve cuts and the SARB is still maintaining its stance, you know, there's a massive margin for these investors, and you know, the risk premium on the bonds will be attractive, and we can see large inflows of capital back into the country. So that's base case scenario for the rand, and we can be talking here at the end of this year with a rand, you know, sitting around 1650. I know that's a bold prediction, but that's a base case scenario. We saw the rand appreciate like that in 2020 and 2021, largely off the back of a commodity run and loose economic global monetary policy over in America.
So, you've got high interest rates, and you know, consumers are not really breathing.
I'm not sounding the victory. I'm not going to run the victory lap on inflation just yet. But the European Union and the Bank of England have started to say they're starting to diverge from the Fed. They are saying that, listen, their economic environment isn't the same as the US. they might actually start cutting rates before the Fed. Now that's quite a dangerous play, because as soon as you have these contrasting monetary policies, that's when you see big foreign exchange moves, and foreign exchange moves can lead to, stickiness within the global market pricing mechanism. So on the one side, the European and Bank of England are quite dovish. They want to cut rates. The Fed is still on their wait and see. We still power says data dependent. But the data is looking favorable after this week. But on paper, the US economy can handle these high rates. Yeah. There's actually no reason for them to cut if you think about it, because the inflation is still not near their 2%. Yeah. The US job market, the figures from the job market are still healthy. Their GDP results are still healthy. So on paper, there's no reason for them to cut. So the only thing that will force them to cut is severe stress in the financial market, and I think that's going to come from the banking sector. We recently, another local recent development was the CODI, CODI Act.
The CODI Act from the SAP.
Yeah.
They cover deposits up to
100,000 rand. Yeah. So just to give the viewers, deposit insurance is just an insurance on your money at the bank. So if usually your deposits at a bank is funding for the bank will take that money and go and write assets. Now, what the deposit insurance does, it protects your deposit. Because, if a bank fails, your money goes down with it. You are at risk if you put your money at a bank. So don't think it's a risk-free operation. But anything under 100,000 rand, if your bank fails, you will be compensated for it. And anything above that, you're going to have to write that off.
But there's never too big to fail in the banking sector. But we do have quite a prudent regulation governing our
important banks.
Yeah, we do have prudent regulation governing our banks. But we are not saying they are immune to defaults as well.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as too big to fail.
It's only African Bank and what's it? What was the bank?
Not Bank. That got
in South Africa.
Not Bank.
I'm not sure. No, the one that EFF got so much flack for.
The VBS.
VBS. That I think in South African banking history, those are the only recent banking failures that we've had. Hey,
there was Bank as well, which got liquidated as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but those are just boutique ways of banking. But for ordinary citizens like you and me, we will mostly rely on your other big commercial banks. So But then with the introduction of CODI, it instills a bit of trust to the consumer.
But one thing about insurance is you have to pay for insurance. So these banks are going to have to pay for insurance. So don't be surprised to see those costs being passed to the clients, to the customers.
High transaction costs and everything.
Yeah. They can nail you on that. But the other thing is the moral hazard. So moral hazard is a term in economics where you do irrational decisions because you know that you won't be liable for the consequences of those decisions, and the thing about deposit insurance, it can drive moral hazard. It can cause banks to, because they know that there's insurance, they can be a bit more reckless or a bit more risk on with your deposits in writing assets. So there's two sides of a coin with this deposit insurance.
There's a bit of insurance to that.
Yeah. That's also that's the recent big local development that we have seen.
But it's a good move because it instills trust into the banking sector as well.
Yeah.
If we're to look at it from that perspective, we welcome that one.
Yeah.
It has been long coming. So if it came in before the VBS saga, then a lot of people would have salvaged something.
Yeah.
They would have salvaged something. But you'll let us know as well in the comment section how you view this CODI Act that was passed by the Reserve Bank.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we'll just keep on reviewing some of the points because South Africa is quite is quite in crossroads with a couple of decisions. Some are domestic and some are global, and of which they shape the overall economic landscape.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we'll keep on reviewing the points as we continue further to cover some of the developments that might come to our next episodes. And we would like to thank each and every single one of you for tuning in and for being with us through this journey. And then we welcome comments and feedback as well, and maybe topics that you would like us to cover going forward. And yeah, that's it. And what are those famous words? Those famous words that we
share, like, and subscribe.
share, like, and subscribe. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, hopefully,
hopefully this has been a bit more engaging than the regular articles, because I mean that was trying to sell, not having a video platform in the age of today is like trying to sell radio to the video star. That's not going to work. So yeah, we're expanding our media base. I hope it was favorable and enjoyable.
No, but yeah, we do like to hear from them. And thanks, guys. Yeah, see you on the next episode. And hopefully there are other offbeat topics that are happening that, they are thought-provoking, and it's something that we can also present to you from a different perspective, how things might actually be. So,
yeah.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.